everyone. This is me doing the prompt engineering video. This is going to be a long video. It is going to be in depth. Let's go ahead and go to the tutorials page. Boom. I'll be talking about what it is, how to utilize it, multiple examples and frameworks, create, refine, optimize, and AI generated text prompts. I would like this video to be short, but depending upon how this goes and how I'm able to convey this, it might be long. If there's any examples, most of these you should know by now if you're looking up the video, like Few Shot, Zero. There will be other ones. I do want to say a shout out to David Andre. If you don't know him, he makes a bunch of AI agent videos. David Shapiro, Indie Dev Dan, and Wes Roth. Most of which I've accumulated this knowledge from them. Shout out to them. They will definitely help you along your AI journey. If you are not aware of them, please go towards them. So I'm Razi. My job is to help you understand prompt engineering and know how to utilize certain structures. Prompt engineering is the design of the prompt to message you send to the LLM. Also, you must provide the context and information. Some information will be repetitive along this, but bear with me. But the reason you want this is just so you can get back exactly what you want from communicating with the said LLM or whatever you're utilizing. So how to utilize it? Again, be very specific and knowledgeable about the topic you're talking about or the information that you are trying to receive. So though there are different prompting types, when we're talking about LLMs here, it's going to definitely vary. I will not use the same type of prompting structure inside of Midjourney that I would inside Suno or that I would inside ChatGPT to gain knowledge. Each of these LLMs are different because one is used to generate images, one is used to generate music or sound, the other one is used to be more conversational. In this video, I will be talking about more conversational techniques for prompt engineering as far as how to utilize it and gain information. Now, when you're using Suno or 11 Labs or Midjourney, you must know about aesthetics, colors, what exactly you're talking about, architecture, photos. If you utilize those type of words or vernacular, then your images will come out better. If you're very knowledgeable about the music industry in Suno, then you can be able to utilize that same type of music knowledge and be able to iterate it inside of their LLM and get something back, or their multimodal model. And 11 Labs, most likely if you're creating a voice, you're creating a character or a characteristic of something that you want it to embody, I think is the word. But yeah, so it varies from different LLMs. In this video, I will be speaking specifically about more of a chat-based interface. Now, will these work on those other LLMs? I do not know. I have not tried it. Basic information. It's imperative, especially if you're trying to give the LLM a job or role or goal that you are trying to get back from it. Any that deals with any type of information, you must be specific. Yes, you can ask it a general question like you would Google, but if you want to get better information back from it, it's definitely best if you are more specific, use more terms, and by giving it a job or role, like if I want more information upon the news, from a Democratic point of view, then I would specifically tell it, you are a Democrat. You will let me know of the information that happened within the elections and why this is bad. Alright, so I just came back. I forgot where I was, but I'm going to assume that I said this, what's on the screen. You can read it for yourself. Next. The 5 things you always want to mention when creating a prompt. Who, what, when, where, why. When we're engaging in conversation with crypto, not crypto, with prompt engineering, ChatGPT, any type of LLMs, especially if you're giving it a role, or depending upon your goal. Who, what role are you going to give it? What are you giving it to do? What task is it? What, when? Is not really a W you need to talk about unless you're on the user side of things. It's more of a who, what, where, and why. I think out of the 5, the most important are who, what, and why. That's going to get you towards your goal or what you're trying to do. So if you need a front-end developer, then that's your who. What's your front-end developer doing? Creating what? A landing page. I guess when and where could be more descriptive. If you had to input a time limit, maybe that might give the LLM a quicker response or a more concise response. Where might help the LLM get an idea of the quote-unquote place and or theme that you're trying to attract. So if you're creating a landing page, and let's say it's for a forestry company, then now you're kind of giving it more context. And why would be giving it, I'm going to assess certain parameters and or reasons that you're trying to cultivate it towards a branding perspective, certain colors. Even though most of this is I guess a UX UI job compared to front end dev, but they'd still have to develop the code. Alright, so multiple examples of frameworks. Zero Shot is a technique for natural language NLP, where a model is given only an instruction query or any examples. So Zero Shot is equivalent to asking a Google search to an LLM. Few shot prompting is more of a technique to where you give it a little bit of examples of inputs and outputs. That way you could be able to get that type of response back. So if I say, hey, I want you to be this, here's an example of how I want you to format your structure upon you talking back to me. Then that is what the LLM will end up giving back to you in response. So if you want bullet points as a response back, then you get bullet points as a response back. If you tell it to, hey, I would like for you to be an actor or a director or a screenwriter, whatever, and I want you to give me a script back, then it'll give you a script back of the input that you're looking for, your goal. Chain of thought is a technique in natural language processing where the model is guided to break down its reasoning process step by step, enabling more accurate and logical responses. This is something that is definitely repetitive in some of these slides because it allows the LLM to think more deeply compared to just a zero shot response back, which will be more quicker. Chain of thought makes it think, okay, cool, here's this first response back, but what about if I see it through this perspective and this is the type of information it needs? Oh, I'll put website there. Knowledge generation monitoring is a process where the output is closely evaluated, adjusted in real time to ensure accuracy, relevance, and alignment with intended purpose during the content generation. So, some of these LLM models, they may be old and they only know from a certain point within our human history upon what type of information to give back to you at that moment in time. Now, when you do have tools within your LLM or your model that you're using, then you could actually ask it to search for more up to date information. But if you're just doing zero shot prompting and it doesn't have that capability, it will hallucinate, giving you bad information, which is why you need to know, as a prompt engineer, how to understand the alignment and the intended purpose during your content generation, your goal. Of course, you always want to be up to date and cite your resources. That way, you're not just out here utilizing whatever immediate information you get just because you want to be done with the task and or job and get it over with. So definitely monitor the knowledge that is being generated from the LLM and you'll be okay. Fuck. Alright, so tree of thought. Always, you're probably coming from different types of thinking, right? But there's the inherent goal. Tree of thought is a technique where models explores multiple reasoning paths, simultaneously branching out to evaluating different positions and possibilities. Because depending upon how you're going about getting a response from the LLM, it's again best to understand who, what, when, where, why. Because you could all have the same type of goal, but depending upon which perspective you're talking about and how you want to go about it, you may end up having different standard operating procedures than in the marketing or the partnership. Or even if you're still in the marketing department, then how are you going to get, the goal is to get more people, right? So are you going to do it online, offline, or is it through partnerships of brands and affiliates? And if so, then who is your target audience for each, and what is your buyer's persona for each? If you don't know these, then your goal may be broad, but you're not being specific enough for the LLM to understand this dynamic and give you an accurate answer back to be able to facilitate a higher percentage of since this is talking about marketing or gaining more people, right there, to arrive at the most accurate and optimal solution. So when you do have all the way down to your target audience for each of these online, offline brands and affiliates, then you can be able to have a buyer's persona. When you tell ChatGPT, to create a buyer's persona, then you will be able to target the people that you need to. I'm sorry that one took very long to explain. RAG is retrieval augment generation. First in RAG, it's more or less, imagine the user talking to the LLM, but the LLM has this base knowledge over here compared to it searching through the knowledge through the internet. The internet is underneath me. So it'll rather go to the knowledge that you immediately feed it and then give you a direct answer back. So this is great for companies. That way, not only do you not have to rely on old information that the LLM may know, but it could immediately go and search the database through the RAG that can give you information about the company that is not only accurate but it's up to date. So think of it as having a somebody having understanding that Washington D.C. exists, but let's say somebody last week just got a pamphlet about everything that's happening in Washington D.C. within the next month. Because they have this pamphlet, it's technically the rag, right? They have all the information easy to access, and they're going to go to that information first and tell you, rather than going back and try to think off the top of their mind and just hallucinate some um, information for you. So what are tools? Tools are what AI engines use on the back end. So like if there was an API that you needed to find out for the weather, um, what when the meteors are falling in an astronomical alignment. These are actions that these agents can take, or the LLMs can take digitally, or go like it says right here. If you're typing up an email, hey, I need an email typed up and sent to so and so, and as long as that application that you're using, ergo, like even ChatGPT, if it has the ability to go ahead and search or go into your email, type up the email and send it, then that is what a tool is. This is more for development purposes rather than front end. For agent models, this is one that I'm probably just going to explain these about. And looking at my paper that I have down here. So, directional stimulus prompting is, for example, look at the beginning of the sound of the word to direct the student's attention to the phonetics in the reading. So, directional stimulus prompting is just being hyper specific upon what certain thing that you're talking about for it to then talk back to you and give you the response that you're looking for. The worker pattern. First you give it a task, then the LLM will research the question, put it into 2-3 queries or workers, and create a summary or a format of that prompt. Most of these agent models, I believe, most of these agent models, shout out to Indeed and Dev, is what I'm reiterating. I thought all these were great. Yes. For the snowball effect, first you start off with the base of info, and then you want the agent to go and find more and more information, and then after it gets information from 3 or more citations, places, then you could be able to tell it to give you a summary of all that information that it outputs to the user. The fallback prompt chain is when you give it a task, the prompt or model a task, and then you run it through the process, and then you give that process, that feedback, to the secondary and that first iteration, and the secondary prompt or models run process and iteration all to the end, and then it gives you a summary of each and every individual one. You could kind of see this implemented on ChatGPT by its A and B testing, when you talk back to it enough and it gives you a response of, hey, would you like your information displayed this way, or would you like your information displayed this way? Decision prompt chain is kind of like the research, the worker pattern, but it's more of a if-else statement. So you give it a task of making a decision, then you give it kind of like the tree of thought model, if this happens, if this happens, if this happens, then it goes through whatever scenario or whatever you're asking it. And then it comes to a summary of what each and every one will be and what would possibly be the best oops the best response. So this is the final one as far as the create, refine, beyond generated text prompts. Oh, this is part of it too. No, fuck the bonus. Alright, so when you have the React framework, this should be in the front of the video, but React framework is in prompt engineering combined to reasoning and acting to enable more effective and interactive AI responses. It works by the structure of reasoning and then acting, such as using tools. So it'll think about it and then it'll go ahead and do the job that's needed. This is definitely used within a lot of agents. So RTF, role, task, and format. This kind of deals with more, all of what I'm about to go through deals with more of how you're designating the LLM to work for you. So role, task, format, you're giving it a role, you're giving it a task, and you're giving it a format. So going all the way back, this is exactly how we're using few shot prompting and chain of thought. So you're giving it a role of, I want you to be a front end engineer. You're giving it a task of what to do, and the format is more or less the how you want the output to be. Where are we at? Boom, 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 boom. Alright. Tag. Task, action, goal. You're giving it a task. You're giving it an action to go do something, and the goal. So, how I would implement this? You would then utilize this by a task. I would like to know the weather for today for 2:30, and if it is raining, tell me a story. That's random, I know, but that's task, action, goal. Once you're giving it those types of initial like settings, then that's how we'll go about giving you a response back. Bridge, or before after bridge, is a marketing framework. So you're gonna give it a reasoning of before something happens, after it happens, and then link those two ideas together. So this is commonly used in marketing because, hey, here's an example. Before you have the solution, we're identifying the problem of something. Hey, doesn't it suck not to have money when you need it? But then when you actually get 10 random dollars imported into your bank account, it makes you feel better. Well, by utilizing this product, you could be able to stop feeling that need of not having money and actually having money when you need it to. So you're taking an example in real life of before and the feeling after, giving them the feeling of after having the solution and bridging those two together by giving them a product. This works great, again, in marketing, but you could really utilize this very well within prompt engineering. Care is the content, action, result, example. Again, a lot of this is just reiterations of utilizing different prompts and change and prompting structures to create a well formatted result back, being hyper specific, especially if you have the words or the knowledge of that specific area and or field of what you're trying to do, and utilizing it in a system like this. Content action result example. What are you looking for? What's the content? I need this to do this. Here's the results I'm looking for. Here's the example. Again, most of these frameworks will probably be used when you're actually creating assistants, copilots, or agents. Either or all of those words mean the same thing if you're a developer. RISE, role, input, steps, expectation. You're giving it a role. Here's the input, which most likely would be the user's input. You're giving it the steps of how to find the solution for the user's input, and then giving an expectation or results back. And that's the end of this prompt engineering video. Almost 30 minutes long. I know I've talked a lot. And I mean, shit. If you got this far, appreciate it. Any other questions in prompt engineering? I'm not famous yet, so if you do respond to this, and I still have like below 100 subscribers, I'll respond to you, and let's try to work together. Deuces.